Life has a way of testing us. People will doubt you, circumstances will block you, and distractions will try to pull you away from your purpose. In those moments, it's easy to wait. Wait for help, wait for motivation, wait for the perfect conditions. But the Stoics remind us that waiting is weakness. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. No savior is coming. No easy path will appear. The only way forward is to focus relentlessly on your own growth until you become unstoppable. This episode is about learning how to direct your energy inward, to master your mind, sharpen your discipline, and train yourself to stay locked on your path no matter what stands in the way. Each of the 10 lessons we'll explore is a step toward unshakable focus, turning failure into fuel, cutting off distractions, guarding your mind like a fortress, and pushing forward even when no one notices. The Stoics knew that victory is not sudden, it is built in silence, through persistence, self-control, and daily acts of discipline. If you can focus on yourself with this kind of intensity, you won't just win, you'll become someone who cannot be defeated, because the victory will no longer depend on external rewards. It will be rooted in who you become. Before we begin, remember to subscribe to Stoic Reflections. Like this video if it resonates with you, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice may be the spark that helps someone else stay focused on their path. 1. Nobody is coming to save you. One of the hardest but most liberating truths you will ever accept is that no one is coming to rescue you. Not your family, not your friends, not society, not even luck. The Stoics remind us that waiting for rescue is a subtle form of slavery. It keeps your life dependent on forces outside your control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not the external events themselves that trouble us, but our judgment about them." If you believe salvation will come from outside, you hand over your power. But the moment you claim ownership of your path, you discover the freedom and strength that were always within you. Think about how often we delay action because we are waiting. Waiting for the perfect timing. Waiting for approval. Waiting for someone to notice our potential and open the door for us. Yet the Stoics would say that time is the one resource we cannot afford to waste. Seneca warned, "While we are postponing, life speeds by." The longer you wait for someone else to take responsibility for your future, the more of your life you give away. No savior is coming, only you can take the next step. This truth may feel harsh, but it is also empowering. Because if nobody is coming, that means you are free. You are not bound to anyone's permission. You don't have to wait for the world to change its opinion of you. You can act now. Epictetus taught that the core of freedom is recognizing what is yours to control. Your thoughts, your actions, your choices. Everything else is external. If you stop waiting for external rescue and instead take responsibility for your own discipline, you step into true power. Consider how most people live, trapped in cycles of blame and expectation. They blame others for their failures, expecting that eventually something will change for them. They wait for luck, for recognition, for easier conditions. But the Stoic path is different. It says, act now with what you have. Stop looking outside for answers. Build strength within. Every day you delay, you reinforce weakness. Every day you act, you reinforce freedom. This is not about isolation. It is not saying you will never receive help. People may assist you, opportunities may appear, blessings may come. But the point is this, you cannot depend on them. They are gifts, not guarantees. If they come, accept them with gratitude. If they don't, move forward anyway. Because your progress must never be chained to what others give or withhold. To practice this lesson, remind yourself daily, my life is mine. When faced with difficulty, resist the urge to wait for rescue. Instead ask, what can I do right now with what I control? It may be small, building a habit, learning a skill, taking a step, but each act is a declaration of independence. Over time, these acts compound into unstoppable momentum. The Stoics lived in harsh times, wars, exile, betrayal, poverty, and yet their writings endure because they discovered the secret. Resilience begins the moment you stop waiting. Marcus Aurelius governed an empire, yet wrote daily reminders to himself not to depend on fortune. Epictetus was born a slave, yet taught that inner freedom cannot be taken. Seneca advised the powerful, but insisted that life must be lived without leaning on guarantees. So take this truth with you. Nobody is coming to save you. That is not despair, it is liberation, because it means you are free to save yourself. Every action you take in ownership of your life is a step towards strength, and the more responsibility you claim, the less power anything external has over you. This is the Stoic way, to stop waiting for rescue and to become your own rescuer. 2. Failure is a teacher, not an enemy. One of the greatest obstacles to growth is the fear of failure. Many people treat failure as proof that they are not good enough, as if a setback is the end of the story. But the Stoics remind us that failure is not an enemy to avoid. It is a teacher to embrace. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." Every time you stumble, life is offering you a lesson in resilience, discipline, and wisdom. The only true failure is refusing to learn. When you avoid failure, you avoid life. You remain trapped in hesitation, never taking risks, never pushing yourself beyond what feels safe. Epictetus taught that we cannot control outcomes, only our efforts. To demand perfection before you act is to paralyze yourself. But when you treat failure as feedback, every attempt becomes progress. You may fall short of the goal, but you grow stronger in the process. The Stoics would say that the value of the journey often outweighs the prize itself because it shapes the person you are becoming. Consider how all growth works. A child learns to walk by falling countless times. Muscles grow by tearing and rebuilding under resistance. Wisdom deepens when tested by mistakes. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is the soil success grows from. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that life is built of constant trials and that the proper response is not despair, but endurance. Each failure is proof that you are trying, that you are alive, that you are willing to step beyond the comfort that traps most people. The danger is not in failing, it is in fearing failure so much that you never act. That fear is what weakens you. The Stoics would argue that the man who tries and fails has lived with courage, while the man who hides from risk has wasted his potential. To treat failure as an enemy is to run from the very experiences that build resilience. To treat failure as a teacher is to see in every setback a chance to sharpen your discipline. Practicing this mindset requires reframing how you see loss. Instead of asking, "Why did I fail?" ask, "What did this teach me?" Instead of saying, "I'm not good enough," say, "This is where I need to grow." Each time you reframe failure, you turn it into strength. The lesson becomes yours forever, even if the outcome wasn't what you hoped for. This approach also frees you from the weight of perfection. You no longer need flawless results to validate yourself. You recognize that every stumble is part of the path. Marcus Aurelius advised himself not to be crushed by setbacks because they are woven into the fabric of human life. Once you see them as natural, they lose their sting. So stop fearing failure. Welcome it as part of the process. Learn from it, grow from it, and let it shape you into someone stronger than before. The only true defeat is refusing to rise again. Every other failure is simply training for the victory ahead. Failure is not your enemy, it is your teacher. And if you let it teach you, there is no limit to how much you can grow. 3. Distraction is silent theft. The Stoics warn that life is short, and the greatest danger is not that we will run out of time, but that we will waste it. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Distraction is the thief that steals life quietly, without violence, without alarm. Hours are lost scrolling, comparing, chasing noise, while the work of building yourself and your future is neglected. Unlike failure, which teaches, distraction teaches nothing. It is time thrown into a fire that leaves no light, no warmth, no growth. Modern life has made distraction more dangerous than ever. Endless notifications, social feeds, entertainment on demand. They all compete for your attention. And attention, the Stoics remind us, is your most sacred resource. Marcus Aurelius cautioned himself to do what is in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness, free from all distraction. He knew that a scattered mind cannot live with clarity. Every moment spent in distraction is a moment not invested in your growth, your discipline, your purpose. The danger of distraction is its subtlety. You rarely notice when minutes turn into hours. Unlike obvious failures, which wake you up, distraction lulls you into complacency. It convinces you that you are busy when in truth you are drifting. And drifting is the opposite of Stoic living. Epictetus said that to be truly free, a person must master their desires and attention. If you cannot guard your mind against distraction, you are not free, you are enslaved by noise. But distraction doesn't just steal time, it steals focus, which is the foundation of progress. Every great achievement is the result of focused effort, repeated daily. When you allow distraction to scatter your energy, you dilute your potential. The Stoics live by discipline, writing, reflecting, practicing philosophy every day. They knew that excellence was not born in chaos, but in deliberate, sustained attention to what matters most. To fight distraction, you must see it for what it is: silent theft. Each hour lost is a withdrawal from the account of your life that can never be replaced. This realization should create urgency, not panic, but purpose. Ask yourself, how many hours today did I give away to what does not matter? How many could I reclaim tomorrow if I guarded my focus like a treasure? Practical steps help. Begin by setting boundaries for your attention. Limit the time you give to empty scrolling or trivial conversations. Replace it with deliberate acts. Reading, learning, creating, training your body and mind. Even 10 minutes of focused effort outweighs hours of distracted drifting. The Stoic way is not to waste what is precious, but to use it with intent. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that each day could be his last, not to frighten himself, but to sharpen his focus. When you live with this awareness, distraction loses its grip. You see clearly that time is too valuable to sell cheaply to noise. Your focus becomes a fortress, guarded not by walls but by discipline. So treat distraction as the enemy it truly is. Refuse to let it steal from you silently. Every moment you reclaim is a victory. Every hour you focus is an investment in the person you are becoming. Distraction is theft, but focus is power. Choose power. Choose clarity. Choose to live, not to drift. 4. Build daily habits that compound. The Stoics never believed in sudden transformations. They taught that excellence is not the result of one heroic act, but of small, repeated choices that accumulate over time. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning to return to philosophy, to practice virtue in every action, no matter how ordinary. Seneca wrote that life is long enough if lived wisely, but wisdom comes not in bursts, but in consistent practice. Habits are the hidden architecture of your destiny. What you do daily, quietly, when no one is watching, shapes the person you will become tomorrow. The mistake most people make is waiting for motivation or inspiration to act. They think change will come in a single breakthrough moment. But the Stoics knew better. They understood that discipline is built brick by brick, day after day. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me you want a fig, I will answer you that it requires time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen. Habits are the ripening process of your life. Each day you neglect them, you delay your harvest." Consider how even the smallest habits compound. Reading for 10 minutes a day turns into wisdom over years. Training your body daily builds strength that no single workout could provide. Reflecting each evening clarifies your mind more than one great insight. The Stoics lived in this rhythm, knowing that philosophy was not something you studied once, but something you practiced in every moment. Habits are not about perfection, they are about consistency. The danger of neglecting habits is that the opposite also compounds. Just as discipline builds strength, laziness builds weakness. Each day of wasted effort adds weight to the chains of regret. Seneca warned that people complain of life being short, when in truth they waste most of it. Habits protect you from that waste. They turn minutes into mastery, hours into resilience, years into virtue. Building daily habits requires patience. You will not see results immediately. The first day you meditate, you may still feel restless. The first week you wake early, fatigue may still weigh on you. But over time, the compounding effect takes hold. Like water wearing away stone, your habits shape you gradually, invisibly, until one day the transformation is undeniable. This is why persistence matters more than intensity. It is not about what you do once, it is about what you do always. Practical application is simple, but not easy. Choose one habit that aligns with your values, something that strengthens body, mind, or spirit. Commit to it daily without excuse. When you stumble, begin again the next day. Do not chase perfection, chase persistence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one habits are the way you become one, step by step, day by day. So remember this, greatness is not built in a moment of glory, it is built in the quiet repetition of discipline. Your habits are the builders of your destiny. Guard them, strengthen them, and let them compound. Over months and years, they will forge a life that no sudden act could ever create. Build your habits wisely, and they will build you into someone unshakable." 5. Guard the gates of your mind. The Stoics understood that your mind is your most sacred fortress. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Yet most people leave the gates of their mind unguarded, allowing in every distraction, every toxic influence, every opinion of others. If your mind is not under your rule, then you are not free. You are ruled by the noise of the world. To focus until you win, you must become the vigilant guardian of your inner world. Think of your mind as a citadel. What you allow in will shape what happens inside. If you open the gates to constant negativity, news cycles designed to fuel fear, endless comparisons on social media, toxic conversations that drain your energy, do not be surprised when your inner world feels chaotic and weak. The Stoics warn that your thoughts become your character, and your character becomes your life. Seneca put it simply, "We become what we repeatedly contemplate." If you allow your mind to be filled with noise, you will live a noisy life. Guarding the gates of your mind means being deliberate with what you consume. Epictetus reminded his students that we are responsible not for every event, but for how we interpret it. If you feed your mind with poison, your interpretations will be poison. But if you nourish it with wisdom, discipline, and clarity, your responses will reflect strength. Just as you protect your body from contaminated food, you must protect your mind from contaminated thoughts. This requires vigilance because the theft of your attention is subtle. Every scroll through endless feeds, every fixation on others' lives, every argument with people who add no value. These are intruders slipping through the gates, and they cost you dearly. Time, focus, and peace are stolen in silence. The Stoics would call this a form of slavery because you become reactive instead of deliberate. To regain control, you must stand guard. Practical steps can help. Begin your mornings by deciding what you will allow into your mind today. Instead of starting with distractions, begin with reflection, journaling, or reading something that aligns with your values. Set boundaries on what voices you listen to, be it online, in media, or in your social circle. Ask yourself, does this strengthen me or does it weaken me? If it weakens you, shut the gate. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to dwell on the beauty of life. This was not naive optimism, but a deliberate choice to focus on what elevated the mind rather than what dragged it down. Guarding the gates of your mind does not mean isolation, it means selection. You cannot stop the world from speaking, but you can decide whose voices echo inside your head. When you rule your mind, you rule your life. No insult, No distraction, no toxic influence can shake you if it can't enter the fortress. But if you leave the gates unguarded, you will always be at the mercy of intruders. The Stoics knew that the true battle is not against the world, but within the self. Guard that inner ground fiercely. So remember, your attention is sacred. Do not sell it cheaply to every distraction. Guard the gates of your mind, and you will discover that focus, peace, and strength are no longer rare moments. They become your daily state of being. 6. Persistence outlasts motivation. One of the greatest illusions people chase is motivation, the spark of inspiration that makes everything feel easy. But the Stoics knew that such sparks are fleeting. Seneca wrote, "Life is long if you know how to use it. But how do you use it? Not by waiting for feelings to push you forward, but by building the discipline to move even when feelings fade." Motivation is a visitor. It comes and goes as it pleases. Persistence is a resident. It stays and builds your life. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to rise each morning to his duties, even when his body begged for comfort. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, "I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for, the things I was brought into the world to do?" This is persistence. It does not ask, "Do I feel like it?" It says, "It must be done, therefore I will do it." The danger of relying on motivation is that it makes your progress fragile. On days when energy is high, you act. On days when it is low, you stall. And over time, this inconsistency weakens your growth. Epictetus taught that freedom and mastery come from training yourself in discipline, just as an athlete trains his body. Persistence is that training. It turns effort into habit and habit into strength, until action no longer depends on moods. Think of the farmer. He cannot plant only on days when he feels inspired. He must rise daily, tend the soil, endure the seasons, and persist through hardship. In time, the harvest comes, not because he was always motivated, but because he was always consistent. Life works the same way. The victories you want, the mastery, the peace, the success, do not come from bursts of passion. They come from steady persistence through silence, boredom, and difficulty. Persistence is also what builds resilience. Every time you act without motivation, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your moods. You show that your commitments define you more than your feelings. This builds trust in yourself, the unshakable confidence that no matter how you feel tomorrow, you will still move forward. And that self-trust is one of the deepest sources of Stoic strength. To practice this, stop asking whether you feel motivated. Replace the question with, "What must be done today?" Then do it, however small, however simple. Even when the act feels insignificant, persistence compounds over time. The Stoics knew that excellence is not about one great act, but countless small ones, repeated daily. Seneca warned against waiting for the perfect mood to live wisely. If you wait to act until you feel like acting, your life will pass in hesitation. But if you persist regardless, your life will build momentum, carrying you further than motivation ever could. So remember, motivation is a spark, but persistence is the fire. Do not depend on feelings to move you. Depend on discipline, on duty, on the quiet force of persistence. Because persistence outlasts motivation, and in the end, it is the steady flame, not the fleeting spark, that wins the race. 7. Trust the process, even in silence. One of the hardest parts of any journey is the season where nothing seems to be happening. You put in the effort, you stay disciplined, you remain focused, but the results you dream of feel invisible. The Stoics remind us that this silence is not failure, it is preparation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "All things are in process of change. You are in process of change." Just because you cannot see the fruit above the ground does not mean the roots are not growing deeper below. Think of a tree. For months it grows in silence, hidden beneath the soil. To the eye, nothing is happening. But in truth, the roots are anchoring, strengthening, and preparing for what will later become visible growth. Life works the same way. Your discipline, your habits, your persistence may not bring immediate recognition, but they are shaping you, unseen, into someone unshakable. When the season shifts, what was hidden will break through. Seneca reminded us that patience is not passive, it is active endurance. To wait well is to keep working, keep planting, keep tending the soil even when you see no instant harvest. Many people quit in these silent seasons, assuming that the lack of visible results means their efforts are wasted. But the Stoics would call this short-sightedness. Epictetus taught that progress is often invisible to the one making it, because it is happening in the character, not in the circumstances. Trusting the process means choosing faith in the unseen. It means telling yourself, I do not need proof today because I know growth is happening within me. It is a shift from demanding outcomes to valuing effort. Marcus Aurelius often wrote that virtue is its own reward. The work itself, the discipline, the focus, the resilience is already shaping you, whether or not the world notices. This trust also frees you from anxiety. When you demand instant results, you become restless, doubting every step. But when you trust the process, you anchor yourself in patience. You recognize that time is a necessary ingredient in transformation. The Stoics remind us that nothing worthwhile is rushed. Character, like marble, is carved slowly, stroke by stroke. To practice this, reflect on the long view. Ask yourself, am I stronger than I was last year? Am I clearer than I was last month? Am I more disciplined than I was yesterday? Even if the external rewards are delayed, the internal growth is real. Trust that the invisible progress will one day become undeniable. Epictetus would say that your task is not to control when the results come, but to remain faithful to the work. The outcomes are not yours to command. The effort is. Trusting the process means surrendering the timeline while mastering the discipline. So when life feels silent, when no one notices your effort, when results seem distant, remember the roots, remember the unseen growth happening within you. Trust the process, even in silence. For in that silence, you are becoming someone stronger, steadier, and more resilient than you can yet see. And when the season changes, the strength you build in silence will become your greatest visible victory. 8. Comfort is the enemy of growth. The Stoics warned repeatedly that an easy life makes a weak mind. Comfort whispers promises of safety, stability, and ease. But behind those promises lies stagnation. Seneca wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare, but because we do not dare that they are difficult." When we cling to comfort, we avoid daring, we avoid risk, and in avoiding risk, we also avoid growth. Comfort slowly robs us of our potential, turning us into prisoners of routine rather than builders of resilience. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that life was meant for action, not idleness. He wrote, "When you have trouble getting out of bed in the morning, remember that your purpose is to be a human being, to do what a human being was made to do." Choosing comfort over effort in small daily decisions weakens your discipline over time. Sleeping in instead of rising to your duties. Avoiding hard conversations instead of speaking with honesty. Distracting yourself with pleasure instead of confronting your responsibilities. Each choice for comfort steals a piece of your strength. Epictetus compared life to training for the Olympic Games. If you want to compete, you cannot indulge in laziness. You must endure heat, cold, exhaustion, and pain. Likewise, if you want to live a virtuous, resilient life, you cannot choose comfort at every turn. You must practice hardship deliberately. This is why Stoics embraced exercises like voluntary discomfort, wearing rough clothes, fasting, or imagining loss, so they could strengthen themselves against fear. To them, discomfort was not suffering but training. The danger of comfort is that it disguises itself as kindness. It tells you, rest now, avoid difficulty, protect yourself from pain. But in truth, it steals your resilience. Seneca warned that luxury corrupts the soul because it softens the will. A soldier who never trains cannot endure battle. A mind that never faces struggle collapses at the first challenge. Comfort does not care about your growth. It only cares about keeping you still. To overcome this, you must shift your relationship with discomfort. Instead of seeing it as punishment, See it as proof that you are growing. Muscles ache because they are getting stronger. The mind resists because it is being stretched. Every moment of discomfort is an invitation to rise above weakness. Marcus Aurelius advised himself to welcome challenges as opportunities to practice virtue. Discomfort is not your enemy, it is your teacher. Practicing this means seeking discomfort in small, deliberate ways. Wake earlier than you want. Do the task you are avoiding. Train your body when it feels tired. Have the hard conversation instead of staying silent. Each act is a declaration. I will not be ruled by comfort. I will be ruled by purpose. Over time, you will find that the very things you once feared become the soil where your strength is rooted. So remember, comfort is easy, but it is empty. Growth is hard, but it is fulfilling. The Stoics remind us that comfort is the enemy of growth because it lulls you into weakness. But when you embrace discomfort, when you step into challenge willingly, you forge resilience, character, and unshakable strength. And that strength is what will carry you to victory long after comfort would have left you broken. 9. Approval is a prison. One of the deepest chains that hold people back is the need for others' approval. We shrink our vision, silence our voice, and distort our true selves just to fit into someone else's expectations. But the Stoics warn that living for approval is slavery. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." When you hand your worth to the judgment of others, you lock yourself inside a prison of their making. The danger of seeking approval is subtle. At first it feels harmless. You want to be liked, respected, accepted. But soon your choices are no longer yours. You dress not for yourself, but for the crowd. You speak not from truth, but from fear of judgment. You chase goals not because they matter to you, but because they impress others. Seneca warned that he who seeks wisdom is wise already. He who thinks he has found it is a fool. In the same way, he who seeks approval has already lost his freedom, because his life is no longer guided by inner wisdom, but by external applause. Epictetus taught that freedom means caring only for what is truly in your control: your character, your virtue, your actions. Approval, however, lies entirely outside your control. People's opinions change with the wind. What they praise today, they may condemn tomorrow. To build your identity on such shifting ground is to build on sand. The Stoic chooses instead to anchor his life in principles, not applause. This doesn't mean rejecting all relationships or isolating yourself. The Stoics valued community and cared for others deeply, but they drew a clear line. You can love others without being enslaved by their opinions. True respect, after all, is not earned by conformity, but by authenticity. People may criticize you in the moment, but over time they respect the person who lives with integrity more than the one who bends to every breeze. Think of the prison of approval like a cage with open doors. The world tempts you to step inside. If you do this, we'll accept you. If you don't, we'll reject you. And many walk in willingly, believing they are safe. But the Stoics call you to stay outside that cage, even if it means standing alone for a while. Because outside lies freedom, the freedom to choose your path, to speak your truth, to live by your own values. To practice this, reflect daily. Am I doing this because it is right or because I want approval? If the answer is approval, pause. Ask yourself whether you are betraying your own vision just to be accepted. Remember that Marcus Aurelius faced constant criticism as emperor, yet he wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." His focus was not on pleasing everyone, but on living rightly. The approval of others is fleeting. The respect you earn from yourself is eternal. When you stop chasing applause, you free yourself from fear. You no longer need to impress because your worth is self-proven through discipline and integrity. And ironically, when you live this way, people respect you more. Not because you sought it, but because authenticity commands it. So break free from the prison of approval. Let your life be guided by virtue, not applause. In doing so, you will discover a freedom that no opinion can touch, and a strength that no criticism can shake. 10. The real prize is who you become. Most people chase rewards that can be counted. Money, recognition, titles, applause. They believe winning means arriving at some external prize that will finally prove their worth. But the Stoics knew that these things are fleeting. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Fame is but smoke, riches are but dirt. What endures is not what you accumulate, but who you are when all else is stripped away." The real victory of life is not in what you gain, but in who you become along the way. Think of the journey of discipline. At first, it may be about goals, to get fit, to earn wealth, to achieve mastery. But as you persist, you discover that the greatest reward is not the body, the bank account, or the applause. It is the inner strength you forged in the process. Every sacrifice, every choice to stay focused, every act of persistence carves a deeper resilience into your character. That resilience is something no one can take from you. Epictetus, who was born a slave and later became one of the greatest teachers of philosophy, knew this truth intimately. He taught that freedom is not measured by possessions, but by mastery over yourself. You can lose wealth, status, or relationships, but if you gain self-command, you have won the greatest prize. When you focus on who you are becoming, setbacks no longer destroy you. They refine you. Failures no longer define you. They strengthen you. Seneca warned that people who chase external prizes often find themselves empty once they achieve them, because they never cultivated inner growth. But those who cultivate wisdom, patience, discipline, and courage discover that they already carry the greatest treasure within. The world may never see it or applaud it, but its value is immeasurable, because it shapes every moment of your existence. This lesson is liberating. When you realize the real prize is who you become, you stop comparing yourself to others. You stop chasing recognition because you no longer need it. Your focus shifts inward, toward becoming unshakable, calm, disciplined, authentic. This is what the Stoics meant by aligning with virtue, choosing to live in such a way that your character itself is the victory. To practice this, ask yourself daily, am I becoming stronger, wiser, more disciplined today than I was yesterday? If the answer is yes, then you are winning, even if no one claps for you. Every small act of self-mastery is another step toward the real prize. And unlike money or fame, this prize cannot be stolen, cannot fade, cannot be lost. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that life is short and that chasing shallow prizes is a waste of it. But to build a self that is calm in storms, courageous in trials, and humble in success, that is a legacy that outlives you. So remember, the world may measure you by what you achieve, but the Stoics measure you by what you become. Focus on building a self so strong, so disciplined, so authentic, that no loss can break you and no prize can tempt you away from your path. Because in the end, the true victory is not what you win, it's the unshakable person you became in the process. At the end of all the struggles, distractions, failures, and victories, the Stoics leave us with a truth that never fades. The real battle is not out there, it is within you. The world may test you with rejection, setbacks, and temptations, but your freedom and your strength come from how you respond. If you can focus on yourself, on your discipline, your persistence, your clarity, then nothing outside can defeat you. Every point we explored in this episode is a step toward building that inner fortress. Owning your life without waiting for rescue, seeing failure as your teacher, protecting your mind from distraction, forging habits that compound into strength, persisting when motivation fades, trusting the silent seasons, choosing discomfort over stagnation, breaking free from the prison of approval, and remembering that the real prize is not recognition, but the unshakable person you become. This is the Stoic path, not a path of ease, but a path of greatness, a path that demands focus, sacrifice, and courage. When you commit to it fully, you stop being at the mercy of circumstances and you begin to live with true power. You will fall, you will face doubt, but each time you rise again, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than anything the world can throw at you. So focus on you until you win, Not by the world's definition of winning, but by becoming the kind of person who cannot be broken, cannot be distracted, and cannot be enslaved by fear. That is the highest victory. And before you go, remember to subscribe to Stoic Reflections, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your words may inspire someone else to stay focused on their path, and together we can build a community grounded in Stoic strength and wisdom.